What's it like working with Mark? What are some things that you've had a completely different experience with?
I think one of the things that's really struck me in working with him is how quickly he sees the future.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Alexander Wang.
Back in 2022, he became the youngest self-made billionaire in the world.
Chief AI Officer at Meta.
Started a company when he was still a teenager, went through Y Combinator, and then built Scale AI.
Alex Wang is the most expensive acqui-hire yet, $14.3 billion.
He's a fascinating character within the Valley.
And he now leads Meta's Superintelligence Labs division.
You work very closely with Mark, you're building a Meta Superintelligence. What is Meta Superintelligence?
You know, the discoveries that we make over the course of the next 5 years in terms of AI are going to be some of the most monumental discoveries of human civilization has ever made.
You know, I have the Meta Gen 2 Ray-Bans, right? And I just feel like maybe you guys are running a very old version of Llama there. It just doesn't feel like modern AI yet. Do you have an estimate for when we'd have modern AI on the glasses?
Very soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm with somebody who I think is very special, who I think, is somebody who spearheads the AI race but is slightly invisible to the public. Like, you're much less public these days compared to everybody else in AI. So thank you so much for doing this. My last interaction with you was, I think, at breakfast. We did breakfast at Meta at the campus. And, one of the questions I had for you at that time was, you had this fidget spinner. And it was a very, very different fidget spinner. I don't know, I've never seen anything like it. What was it called?
There's this great, I think it's a British company called Metmo that makes these very high-end fidgets. It's a good company. It's
very cool. We're sending Metmo some sales. But Alex, I want to start with this question, right? Like, what is it that you do now? I know you from the Scale AI days, right? But today, I know that you work very closely with Mark. You're building a Meta Superintelligence. What is Meta Superintelligence for everybody, watching?
I mean, first, Mark and myself, we very strongly believe that this is a very special time in human history. And, the discoveries that we make over the course of the next 5 years in terms of AI are going to be some of the most monumental discoveries of frankly, that human civilization has ever made. And so MSL, Meta Superintelligence Labs, was entirely dedicated towards how do we build and develop the most optimal organization to be able to both deliver the breakthroughs and the scientific advancements necessary to deliver superintelligence, and then also build the products that will enable this technology to be deployed to billions and billions of people worldwide. And one of the things that makes Meta such a special place for all of this is the fact that we have such incredible scale and reach through our products. 3.5 billion people utilize our platforms every single day. That puts us in an incredible position to actually bring this technology to the world in a way that's really different, we think, from many of the other AI labs out there. And then we also, we had the opportunity to, 7 months ago when I joined, really kind of design the org and design the team from a blank slate on what does the optimal team look like for the future of superintelligence. So, we really embraced how do we build the best possible scientific foundations for this organization? How do we have the highest talent density? How do we bring the very best people together and build the best possible environment for breakthrough research to occur?
Interesting. How do you balance commercializing some of these products along with research? Because from my understanding, and whatever is available publicly, it seems that you come more from a products perspective. Like, you've done Scale AI, you've helped some of these product companies really grow. How does it feel like going to research, and how do you balance both?
At the core, we need to be research-led because fundamentally, we're in such a special time and moment when it comes to frontier AI technologies and breakthroughs that I really think that you need to be very focused on the research and the opportunity to actually push the frontier, to have very real breakthroughs in superintelligence is just magical. And so we're research driven to be able to push the frontier, but we actually view it as like a flywheel internally for all of Meta. So by building frontier models and building models that are pushing the boundaries of superintelligence, that enables to build incredible products. And it's kind of a base material that allows us to build some of the most interesting and innovative consumer products in the world. Those products, as they gain scale, then give us the ability to grow our infrastructure footprint and to build large-scale infrastructure, some of the largest scale infrastructure in the entire world. And then that will enable us to build even greater models and continue scaling our research efforts. So it actually is like one virtuous flywheel within Meta. And I think that's a lot of what excites me as well, is that we're not, I think we view this as a very evolving and continuous discipline to continue advancing the models, products, and infrastructure all in tandem with one another.
So what's the team like? Like, how do you structure the research team, and where is handoff to products? Like, how does it, like, if you can give me, like, for example, an example of something you're working on, what's the team structure for that like? And then when is handoff to product? That would be very useful.
Yeah, so actually one of the things that has really struck me has been, if you look at a lot of the most successful AI products and a lot of the most successful AI developments that have happened, they come from a tandem effort between research and product. So we're I think past the phase where it's just about research in a corner and then that hands off to product people and then they deploy that. I think if you look at a lot of the biggest breakthroughs like ChatGPT or Claude Code or a lot of the things that we're working on, it comes from researchers who are thinking about the product and product people who are thinking about research and then working hand in hand with one another to sort of co-develop the best possible products. Some of the things that we're really excited about are personal agents. Recently Manus released agents that are working 24/7 on behalf of our users and are constantly working to accomplish your goals or make your life better. And we really see that as this is the first of a whole series of products that we're excited to release around personal agents. It's one of the areas where we think there's some of the greatest opportunity to actually give a more powerful version of AI to every single person in the world. And I think will be one of the things that we'll look back on a decade from now and view as one of the big breakthroughs in AI productization.
Yeah, I really like Manus. I remember using it, a few months ago. I keep going back to it again and again. It's a cool product. Do you have a sense of what Meta's identity is in the AI battle? I feel like, Anthropic has one. It feels very, machines of love and grace style. OpenAI has one, it's very consumer pop friendly one. But like Meta's identity is still very much on device. At least to me as a consumer, it feels like on device, it's there, but the device is like up front and center. But is there an identity you're building for Meta's superintelligence play?
Yeah, I think what we really believe in are personal agents deployed globally. So one of the things that makes us unique is that we are a global company and we have half of the world using our products every single day. I mean, that is just an incredible amount of reach. And it means that as we deploy powerful personal agents to everybody in the world, it creates totally new opportunities that I think are very hard for any other lab to actually fully accomplish in terms of what does that mean for entire communities? What does that mean for countries? What does that mean for the whole world as we all onboard onto this technology together? The other thing that we're really excited about is the sort of continued what does the hardware vision look like, right? And this is an area that we've been investing in for many, many years, are wearables and sort of the next form factors for consumer hardware. And we think that with personal agents, that vision has never been more real, where I think you're going to want your personal agent to be on a constellation of peripherals in the future. And we're going to expand beyond the phone into a world where you're going to want your personal agent to be with you in a bunch of different ways that will always be on, see what you see, hear what you hear, and will be able to just help you in a way that's much deeper than even the devices today are able to help them.
Cool, like an always-on friend who's with you on all your devices. That's very cool. I think there are a lot of other companies trying to do that, but I think you have the step ahead because I've already worn the Meta hardware products and I'm already comfortable with it, so it's very easy to say, well, here's an update which allows you to have this god-tier intelligence on. Which actually brings me to an aside point, which is, I have the Meta Gen 2 Ray-Bans, right? And I just feel like maybe you guys are running a very old version of Llama there. It just doesn't feel like modern AI yet.
Yeah.
Do you have an estimate for when we'd have modern AI on the glasses?
Very soon. I think. We've been, when I got to Meta something like 7 months ago, the entire focus was let's set up this organization in the right way for the long term, so that we're not just setting ourselves up to cut a corner here or to optimize for some short-term outcome, but mortgage the long-term opportunity. We're going to set it up with the right scientific foundations. We're going to set it up with the incredible talent density and the focus on long-term science. We're going to remove artificial deadlines so that we're actually building the technology at the best pace. And what we've seen from that is actually over the past 7 months, we've built the foundations incredibly quickly. And now we're at a moment where I think over the coming months, we're going to see incredible velocity coming from us, and that'll continue throughout the course of the year. We think that over the course of the full year, we will really be pushing the frontier in a very exciting way across many dimensions of the technology. So stay tuned. I know it's been a long wait for many people, but we're really excited about what's coming.
Yeah, because I just feel like that's a very easy, sort of upgrade for me, right? Or everybody else, which is just have those glasses be super, because I just feel like they're being artificially restrained by a very old AI on it, and I just know what modern AI can do, and you already have access to the camera, you already have access to audio, you can do wonders, right?
But to your point, we've already sold millions of units, and it's already a ubiquitous technology, and so I think the opportunity is just immense.
Yeah, I think it's one software update away from superpowers. So I'm very, very excited about that. But I think it's incredibly mature of you to come in and first build out the org. And it's something that I've learned like this year compared to 5 or 10 years ago. To build out the org for Velocity a year later, how do you learn all this? Like, what's the difference between you as an 18-year-old entrepreneur, starting Scale AI versus today building, what you're building today? Like, what's the difference between you as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've learned just so many different things. I think one thing, when you're young, you're very impatient, right? And I think you know this as well as I do. I started my company right out of college, dropped out of college, and you're so impatient to make things happen and that's both a great strength and a great weakness. Like, I think on the one hand, you can make things happen faster than other people would expect, but you're also not necessarily setting things up to be long-term sustainable and to create long-term advantages. And one of the things that I've thought a lot about, if you sort of study the history of great businesses in Silicon Valley, or even just broadly in the sort of like history of business, the ones with true staying power have built some sort of foundation that is actually very difficult to replicate. And it's something that it's almost like a seed that is planted and grows over the course of in many cases, decades. And so I think a lot of how we think about how we thought about building MSL and how we think about building teams and accomplishing big things going forward is, how do you set something up such that it has durability and it has a differentiated point of view all the way down to the organization, and that enables it to grow and expand and develop in a way that is that will continue to be differentiated long into the future. So I think this sort of mix of I think to put it pithily, I think you can't let your impatience drive you too far, and you need to. It's important to always be thinking about what foundations are you building and what does the long-term story look like.
Yeah, if I had to summarize the last 10 years of my entrepreneurial career, I would come up with the same insights. Just intentionally slow down, build for the long term, and then eventually, and also put the right people together, right? Because, and they need like 3 or 4 years to bloom. So I totally get you. Hey, what was the Scale AI exit like? Like, I mean, I don't even know if you can call it an exit, right? So
they're still going.
Yeah, they're still going, right? Like, I would say, what was the relationship? Why did you decide to work at, Meta Superintelligence? Like, how did that conversation with Mark happen? Give us some insider information.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was incredibly non-standard. And I think the way it happened was even, was very surprising, because it took, Mark is obviously quite a bold and visionary leader. And I think it really took, that level of vision for the whole thing to come together. And I mean, it was an incredible, I think, milestone for Scale and everything that we've done. And Scale continues on. And I think that team is continuing to execute and deliver on really incredible outcomes for enterprises and governments, and continues to crush it. But the opportunity that we saw really was, it was an incredible milestone for scale, and it was a way to kind of give back to all of the people who have supported Scale's success to date, including the investors and the employees and everybody involved, while also setting Scale up for the future. And frankly, the opportunity that I saw with Meta was just astronomical. I think that sometimes in the middle of these AI races, everything just feels so pressurized, so you can sort of lose sight of things. And I think at that time, a lot of people weren't giving Meta the credit it deserved in terms of, it has all the ingredients for incredible success in AI. It has the distribution, it has the billions and billions of users, it has the scale, it has the business model, it has the incredible talent, it has the infrastructure. And so all the pieces were really there. And I think the opportunity to really kind of lock everything in a way that allows Meta to really succeed and thrive in the long term was very exciting.
Very cool. I have this question that I ask almost everybody, in the AI race, right? Which is, I'm sure you have some ideas and thoughts about AI that your peers don't agree with, right? Some way it's going to go in the future, or some, method of training, or whatever it could be, right? Do you have an insight that you feel your peers might not agree with? I'm talking about your peers in AI.
I think some people in the industry agree with me on this, but one of the things I think is of paramount importance is developing the technology with extreme responsibility. And I think a lot of the concerns around safety, both the traditional concerns around AI safety, as well as new concerns around how do you ensure that this technology is used safely by the billions and billions of people who are going to use it every day. I think those are incredibly, incredibly important. And I think we're seeing this, as with any new technology, as it gets deployed, they raise novel safety concerns, and the responsibility really is on us to develop the technology in a responsible way. The other piece that's very important for this is the vision of the future that we see, where it is a personal agent, something that is sort of with you all the time, that you really trust with your goals and your hopes and your fears and sort of everything in your life. To build that technology effectively requires just a huge amount of trust from our users, from the public, from governments, from every stakeholder that you could possibly imagine. And so we really take the sort of the need to build safely and thoughtfully extremely highly. And I think this is shared by some in the AI community. I think some people have moved away from some of these commitments, but it's something that I at least take extremely seriously.
Would you have like a chief philosopher to set the tone for your AI? I think Anthropic has somebody like this now. Gemini is very, the rate of refusals is very high, it's very bland. Would you as Meta, have a chief philosopher to set the tone for how that AI behaves?
Yeah, we actually collaborate with a number of both philosophers and psychologists to help us develop and build the behavior of the model in a way that we think will be most conducive for being helpful and empowering our users to accomplish their goals. And it's funny, one of the things that we've spent a lot of time thinking about is how do you develop kind of like a mutual, in some ways like a mutual relationship between the humans and the agents, where the humans obviously want the agents to be successful, and the agents want the humans to be successful. And figuring out how to engineer that and design that is something that's, I think, very important for all of this to work out effectively.
Very cool. I have one last question for you, because I've taken a lot of your time. What's it like working with Mark? What's his working style like? What are some of the things that the public says that are true in terms of working style? What are some things that you've had a completely different experience with? What's it like working with Mark?
Well, I think first, Mark is one of the most notable individuals in technology for the past few decades, and I think there's a lot out there about him that is not fair from having worked with him very closely. I mean, first, he is just like, in many ways, a very regular guy. He's a total family man. He is very devoted to his children and his family and his wife. And I think his personal values, I think, are quite commendable. But what's more than that, I think as a leader, he is incredibly bold and ambitious. And I think one of the things that's really struck me in working with him is how quickly he sees the future is maybe one of the terms I would use. Like, I think he is able to take a technological advancement or something that's happening all the way at the technology level and then really play that forward in terms of what does that mean for our users, what does that mean for consumers, what does that mean for businesses, what does that mean for our entire ecosystem, and then work with everybody on the team to make that happen as quickly as possible through Meta. So I think he's been a very, I feel very lucky to be able to work with him, one of the sort of like great entrepreneurs of our time. Yeah, I think it's a real pleasure. He enables me and I think the whole team to dream bigger than we would otherwise.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Alex. This was very enlightening. I learned so much about, Meta Superintelligence. I can't wait for, superpowers to be on my glasses. I also can't wait for the new ones, right? I saw the displays at Meta Connect, but, I don't think they're available in India yet. So at some point, I want to get my hands on one and just, use all of the AI you put in there. I can't wait to see all the cool stuff you do with the neural band as well. So good luck, and I'm going to continue buying and using your products.
Yeah, it's going to be the future will be here faster than we think.
Yeah, this year.
Yeah,
this year. Awesome. Thank you so much, and make sure you subscribe. Bye.